What you're going to see is an example of exactly how coercion works. Now, this story is going to be familiar for a lot of you guys. And I think it's important to a lot of you guys that are going this route. I don't recommend that you go this route. But I do understand that this can be a situation that's a lot more nuanced. But if you do go this route in terms of what we're talking about, I think it's important that you make it known that this is why you did it. It wasn't because you wanted to. It's because you were basically, you felt like you had a gun held to your head. So we've talked about this before. Andrew Wiggins, who was one of the guys who were holding out with this deal, he ended up getting a jab. He didn't want to get it, but he ended up getting it. Not too long ago, we covered him when he was saying that he didn't want to get it. Sean Highkin, he had a press conference. There's a video that's available as well. You can be able to see, but he covers, of course, for Bleacher Report. And this is what Andrew Wiggins was saying. These are some of the comments. I felt like the only options were to get vaccinated or not play in the NBA. It was a tough decision. Hopefully in 10 years it works out and I'm still healthy. That's a man saying that I love this sport. I love what it is that I'm doing. I want to continue to do it. And it was a tough decision that I didn't want to make. But I valued, of course, that more. And hopefully it works out. So he's going out on a prayer. That sucks. Wiggins, he also says some other things that he says. It's not something I wanted to do, but I was kind of forced into it. I guess to do certain stuff and to work, you don't own your body. Hopefully there's people who are stronger than me and keep fighting for what they believe in. That's an important statement to make, because what he's saying is basically, I didn't have the fortitude, and I'm not saying that as a means of disrespect. Some people are in different situations, and some people have balls of fucking steel. And they'll play chicken. A lot of guys, you know some of those guys. There's some guys out there that'll be faced with some adversity and they'll play chicken. They'll be like, we going full speed ahead. I'm not turning this fucking car. And that's ballsy. But he's saying that hopefully there are people that are better in that regard that continue to do what it is that they are doing and believe in and basically holding out is what he's basically alluding to. Something that he tried to do and did it all the way up until a point, and he said, you know what? I'm not doing this. Now, some people would say, well, it's just basketball. He has all this money probably that he's already gotten. Would it be worth quit? And yeah, I totally understand it. I totally understand that argument. And there's value in it. I want to be clear about that. That's the nuanced part of it. There's the same argument that Jack, I can't remember his last name, but that had with Tim Pool and the argument about their children and stuff. Like, yeah, sometimes you'd have to give up something you love in order for the future to be something that you want, that's worth striving for, worth living in. And the statement that you make. And I totally understand that, but we can't we can't talk out of both sides of our mouth. We can't sit up here and say like, well, that's perfectly fine that person does that because they love this and what it is they're doing, while also then saying on the other side that non-compliance is the only way that we get out of this. You see what it is that I'm saying? So I completely understand where a person would say, well, I'm not allowing you to make it. And they would say, you should have held out. That's a perfectly valid argument, and I want to be clear about that. That's a perfectly valid, understandable argument. And this is why from the liberty movement, if that's what you want to call it, I'm not going to call it that. It's more people that value liberty. Let's just say that. Oftentimes we rely upon slogans and catchphrases. That's not going to get us through this, right? So things sound good, and then when it's time to apply it, like the Jack guy that was on, he had a Twitter saying that some person that was okay with his child wearing a mask during sports, he was like, you're basically giving power to these fascists, and then come to find out he's arguing with fucking Tim Pool. Tim Pool said, why don't you just have your kid drop baseball? And he's like, well, I can't do that because, other reasons. talking about his ex and custody and all of that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, well, you're kind of being a hypocrite there. That's the thing that I think is going to be uncomfortable for a lot of people is that, yes, unfortunately, in order for us to get on the other side of this, some people are going to have to lose. Jack Murphy, that was his name, yeah. Some people are going to have to lose. And obviously the issue is that a lot of people don't want to be the loser. And he's saying, Andrew Wiggins, to be fair, is like, okay, I hope there's other people that have more power than me. I didn't want to do this, but felt like it wasn't worth losing all this money, or it wasn't worth me playing a sport that I love in the highest league, that the sport, basically playing it at the highest level that could possibly it could be played at. He didn't want to do it. Wasn't worth risking all of that. He said, no one in my family is vaccinated. It's not really something we believe in. So he got it, but his family didn't. This one I would have liked to follow up on, but didn't get a chance to. So basically, this is a really good one right here in terms of what he said. He said, I've had a bad reaction a few years ago to Tylenol, and since then I haven't wanted to take anything. Let stuff heal naturally. In this case, I had COVID, and it wasn't that bad. So he's a guy, and that's the crazy thing about this whole forceful injection shit, is that people don't even care about you being naturally immune to it. So this guy got naturally immune and he got coerced into still getting it. I didn't want to take the chance. I don't know if it causes cancer or anything like that. Basically referring to long-term effects, and he's right. There's stuff that is still coming out right now that they're learning about it because it hasn't gone through those rigorous testing. They'll say, well, these types of vaccines have been tested in animals and other stuff. But, for this particular one, no, obviously this is straight up novel. And that's a shit argument to be made there that a lot of people we talk about Don Lemon and Cuomo, and they would sit there and talk about, well, you do other stuff. Why wouldn't you do this? And that is such a bad argument because basically that person is telling you, okay, you're stupid for being now even if it was this vaccine, doesn't matter what it was, but even if it was, there's nothing wrong with that. That required you, or rather that led you into becoming more conscious of what it is that you consume. There's nothing wrong with that. People start consuming things, sometimes it's a life-altering event, no matter what it is. For him, he said he had a bad reaction to Tylenol. So at that case, he was like, okay, I want to be more mindful of what it is that I put in my body. There's nothing wrong with that. So when people say, well, you take this, you take that, you don't know what this is, that's not an argument. That's not an argument at all. You're basically saying, well, you're stupid, or you do something that's stupid, therefore you should continue to do something else stupid. It's like, no. That person's being conscious of what they have in their body, and maybe it wasn't until the vaccine they decided to do that. That's not a bad thing. So, seriously, the man got coerced into doing something that he didn't want to do. And there's a lot of you that are in that position. Some of you guys have jobs that you've been working for years and you didn't want to risk losing it or playing chicken with your employer. And I totally understand that. I get it. But you didn't want to get it and you end up getting it anyway. There's a lot of y'all out there that's like that. And I totally understand that you're in a tough position. However, in order for us to get on the other side of this, that doesn't help, because it also what happens is people become less, because they think they're going to be part of the upper echelon of society, right? The people that aren't being ostracized. That's the whole reason they got it, right? So they won't be the ones being segregated. So they're less likely to go to bat for those that are still standing tall on this and saying, I don't want it. I'm not going to get it. Right? Thankfully, I'm in a position where I'm employed by myself. I don't want it, so I'm not going to get it. And yeah, I'm in a better position than a lot of other people are, because my money is more so, and my income is more so dependent on myself. I'm not required to show a vaccine. And if I was for something that I was earning money from, I'd shift from that. Nonetheless, we do need people that are standing their ground. And if you are, I guess that's the best case scenario. I'll end with this. If you are one of those that got coerced into doing something like this that you didn't want to do, don't shut up about it. Don't because, oh, well, now I'm going to be part of the not ostracized population. I'm going to shut up now. No. At minimum, you could continue to say this is wrong. Mandates are wrong. Forcing other people to do this is wrong. I mean, this is why it was never about vaccination versus unvaccination or the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. It was never about that. This was simply about people making decisions on their own behalf to get a jab or to not get a jab. That's what this is about. That's it. That's all this was about. It's about the freedom to choose what it is that you want to inject in your body. That's it. Fortunately, there's a lot of people that don't believe in that.